Good evening and welcome. Good evening. I'm David Gelfand, a rabbi here in New York City, and one of actually the founders of the Interfaith Alliance, well, just a few years ago. Well, more than a few years ago. It is a pleasure and a joy to welcome you to this annual event, the Walter Cronkite Faith and Freedom Award, to be given this evening. And here we gather once again to be able to share in the spirit of civility and friendship. And in spite of too often the political climate and the realities of the world, for a moment of hopefulness and to look into the future and learn from others who have been able to share in spite of the traumas and challenges of life in creating not only civility, but also a spirit of faith built upon the freedom of this nation and upon the sharing of ideologies and faith traditions that represent scores of different ideologies and theologies. And so this evening it is my pleasure to call on the Most Reverend Dr. Jefferts Schori to come forward and share words of blessing with us tonight.
Good evening. I would ask you to pray with me as you are able and willing. In the name of the Holy One, we ask blessing on those who will be honored this night for the work they have done in promoting understanding and encouraging each one to see the holy in our neighbors. We ask blessing on the food we are to receive this night, on those who have grown it and prepared it, and those who will serve it and clean up after us. We ask that our time together might be a source of blessing, not only in this room, but that it might resound across this nation, that we might become a people who see the holy wherever we go. All of this we ask in the name of the most holy one we know. Amen.
In my tradition, there are a host of stories of welcoming and of greeting. And in fact, at this very time of the year, we have been reading a story of Abraham who greeted strangers who came to his tent, not knowing who they were. It is also said in the biblical stories that Lot, too, had strangers who came to him. And yet, why is it that the three strangers that come to Lot, he gets really no credit for greeting them? And the tradition teaches that it is because the only reason he did so was because he saw them as messengers of God. Whereas Abraham greeted people, the strangers, perhaps messengers of God, but perhaps simply strangers, perhaps wayfarers. And he greeted them quickly, openly, warmly. And because of that spirit of greeting and of welcoming, in fact, he was blessed. We too of the Interfaith Alliance have been blessed, as has our nation, by the Reverend Dr. Welton Gaddy, who has led the Interfaith Alliance and allowed us to grow and to become much of what we have become. And so it is truly an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to introduce you to him now.
My first line is, enjoy your salads. So you may eat as I speak a little bit. I want to join with David in welcoming all of you to these ceremonies this evening, the 14th annual award ceremonies, some of which have been held as receptions, some of which have been held as lunches, and some of which have been held as dinners like this evening. But all of them have been held for the same reasons: to honor the man in whose name the award is given, to call for support for the work of this organization committed to the integrity of religion and the vitality of democracy, the strength of faith, and the guarantee of freedom for everybody to experience the full potential of rights and freedoms in this land, whether a person is religious or not. And to honor individuals whose lives and work have embodied and strengthened this mission. Some of us have had the joy of attending all of the 14 award ceremonies, but previous attendance is not a prerequisite for the full enjoyment of this evening. I am delighted that each one of you is here. We like this venue in which we meet. It used to be, back at the turn of the 20th century, 1904, used to be a luxury hotel. Over the years, it was handed down in different ways to other people, and now it is owned by a nonprofit group that uses the benefits of the money raised here to help some of the weakest and poorest and hungriest people in New York. So we find that an attractive way to do this celebration. We help an organization that is a helping organization and enjoy the beauty of this room and the fellowship we have here. By the way, there's art outside on the walls. The people who own this place have told us that if any of that art is sold this evening, that Interfaith Alliance would get 10% of that. There are several people who wanted to be here this evening but could not attend, but they sent greetings. Rachel Maddow is one of those with whom I talked on Friday. Another is Judith Light, unable to come because of her part in the drama Other Desert Cities, right now the hottest ticket on Broadway, I'm told. Chip Cronkite sends his regards. Elsie Hillman, a major sponsor of this event and one of the initial funders of Interfaith Alliance. Fred Garcia, who has 3 tables of guests in the room this evening, though he is working internationally. And Mitchell Gold, who is virtually always here, but is abroad also. His spouse, Tim, is here, and you will hear from him later in the evening. Scott Gilbert provided the flowers for our tables, even though he couldn't be present. Scott sent us this message and insisted that it be read. We are proud to support the Interfaith Alliance and especially to congratulate Jane, who every day lives the example each of us aspires to be. Jane, we love you. Thank you for enriching our lives. Tonight we're honoring 2 special people with the 2011 Cronkite Faith and Freedom Awards. And these 2 honorees have attracted in this room this evening special people in their lives and also people who honor us by being here. The Laras, Jim and Kate, have their 2 daughters and other members of their family with them. The Dixons, Jane and Dixie, have their daughter and 2 sons and other family members with them. Bishop Catherine Jefferts Schori has her husband and several friends with her. Shelley Wright has her wife Lauren and a table of friends with her. Marlene Adler and Mike are not here at the head table yet, and I'm a little worried about that because she's one of the people who has been at virtually every one of these award dinners. You may remember she was Walter's longtime chief of staff and a great fan of Interfaith Alliance. Present as a colleague of Jim and a best friend of Jane, Diane Ream is worthy of honor as well as recognition herself. Diane, where are you sitting? Okay, would you stand and let people greet you, please? This woman provides virtually every day her listeners with the kind of substantive conversations that inform responsible citizenship. We're grateful for that. We're also delighted to welcome and recognize best-selling author Mary Carr. Mary, where are you? I'm sorry, okay, I can't see you, but I trust you're there. We have several members of our board of directors at the Interfaith Alliance here this evening. I hope that in the course of the evening you will have some opportunity to speak a word with them. 1 year prior to this event in Walter's and Betsy's living room, Walter and I met a reporter from the New York Times for an interview. All went well, lots of talk and multiple photos until the moment that we were about to depart from being with the reporter. And the reporter asked, "By the way, Mr. Cronkite, what is your religious faith?" "None of your business," he said. "That is why I love this organization. I don't have to tell you that." Well, today, that statement from a public figure sounds like the distant echo of a prophet in the desert. In fact, in D.C., I often feel like, and I'm sure some of you who live there do too, I am the only person left God has not called to run for the presidency. In fact, just a day or so ago, presidential candidate Herman Cain confessed, no, not what you're thinking. He confessed that he is not Moses, which was a great relief to Moses. But despite that fact, God has called him to be president. Well, to say the least, the theology of politicians is mightily confusing. Why would God mislead so many people, telling each one that he or she's chosen for the presidency? Tonight is a celebration within, not an escape from the disturbing context in which we now live. Last week, the Washington Post carried a story on a bill with bipartisan support that leaders in both parties decided not to bring up for a vote because neither party wanted to appear to be cooperating with the other. Seriously. Finances are tight. Some people are in deep trouble. Like many other nonprofit organizations, Interfaith Alliance is struggling for our institutional lives, not because of institutionalism, but because of a faith and patriotism that knows our support for our issues is crucial for our character and the character of our nation. And having said that, I must mention our staff and the level of dedication they have to our mission. These people get here, unlike most of us, on a cheap bus ticket and accept less money than they could make elsewhere for their salaries because they genuinely believe that what we're doing is the right thing. I hope you all can see better than I can, because if you can, I'd like the staff members in the room to stand and you thank them with me.